Here's another research proposal from ChatGPT.
Okay.
Can ducks solve mazes faster if the walls are decorated with duck memes? So the experiment is set up identical mazes, one with motivational duck posters and the other plain, and then measure the escape time by the ducks. Okay. The insight is examines emotional priming, visual stimulation, and meme-based navigation skills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. But they're talking about those advice animals, by the way.
What's that?
They're talking about the advice animal memes, right? Like like on Reddit, this was a thing way back in the day. They don't do this much anymore. But there's these ducks that would post like positive messages.
Oh, no, I'm not familiar.
At first, it was the bad advice mallard, and then it became good advice mallard. Yeah.
That sounds familiar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like what they're asking is, since ducks are very much sensitized towards recognizing other ducks, right? Pictures of ducks, that if you cover the maze with pictures of other ducks, they might have an easier time navigating the maze because they're able to recognize where they've been and where they haven't based on the pictures of ducks.
Based on which ducks they're seeing.
Yeah, so they can remember where they've been and where they haven't. Is that what they're asking? Probably.
I think so.
Significance. What do you think?
Yeah. Significance, I would say in general is pretty high. They're talking about navigation. Birds are excellent in navigation. So I think this question is interesting if you have other variables in the environment. So 5 out of 5.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I disagree with you. I'm going to say 2 out of 5. Innovation?
Okay. Pretty high.
Okay. I
mean, come on. Duck memes? This is out of the box stuff.
5 out of 5?
5 out of 5.
Okay.
Again.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And research experimental design.
Experimental design, I would also say high.
Okay.
Like 5 out of 5 also, actually.
Well designed.
Maze solving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well designed. I just want to add one thing.
Yeah.
I hope they consider the possibility that the ducks actually may take longer to navigate the duck maze because they get so enraptured by looking at these ducks. Yeah.
That's very true. Well, they don't give a hypothesis.
Right, that's true.
They're
So
unbiased.
it could be the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. They're just measuring time to completion of the maze. Yeah.
And what if you have a duck that can read? It keeps reading the positive messages and then it gets all distracted. You know?
Oh, that could be a confounder because it's getting motivated from the posters. And that causes it to solve the maze faster.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
I see. Confounding variable. Okay, let's take off a point for that. That's good point. I would further like to take another point off because they don't specify the exact memes they're going to use. Yeah. 3 out of 5.
All right, 3 out of 5, sure.
All right. Next research proposal. What happens if you put ducks in tiny T-Rex costumes? Do they get more confident? Okay.
What? Okay.
So the experiment here is you fit ducks with harmless dino costumes. So not like serrated ones with sharp edges, but just harmless plush ones. And you observe social dynamics, aggression, and strutting frequency of the ducks in the costumes.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? And the inside is identity augmentation and dominance display.
And it's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What do you think?
Significance, I don't know, man.
Well,
I think outside of
I think it's getting at something interesting. I think it's sort of getting at evolution, right? Because birds, evolved from dinosaurs.
It's like that motivational poster when there's a kitten standing in front of a mirror, and then inside the mirror it's a lion.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But I think this is getting at something deeper within the ducks, like evolutionary.
It's like ancestral. It's ancestral.
Exactly. Yeah. Do they retain that fear of large dinosaurs? Yeah.
Just like me wearing a Thor costume.
You're not a descendant of Thor, please.
Please, I am.
Sure.
That's what ChatGPT told me the other day.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So significance?
I'm still gonna ding them, man. 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
Yeah,
that's pretty high. I'm gonna say 2 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're roughly on the same page.
Okay. Yeah. Innovation.
Yeah. Innovation's pretty high.
You think
I don't
it's high?
think anyone's ever thought of this. Yeah. No.
Probably some. Well, it's like the thing you mentioned with the cat meme, right?
Yeah, but no one's actually thought about dressing these animals up. But maybe they have. I don't know. I'll still give them 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Maybe I have a thing for ducks. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then research design.
This one I'm gonna ding them for it. I like a 1 out of 5. I'm not really sure this is actually testing what they're looking to test. It could just be like a stranger, like the ducks may not even... The ducks could ignore it, right?
So it sounds like to me what you're saying is there's no... you're saying if they put a duck in a dino costume, other ducks might be afraid of them just because it's wearing something. Not necessarily that it's the dinosaur costume.
Exactly.
So it's not an appropriately controlled experiment.
No.
Right? The control would be another costume that's less dinosaur-like. Right?
Yeah, like maybe a duck costume.
Maybe
a duck costume.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they're missing that control. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, experiment design. I say 2 out of 5. Okay. Next one. Ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Is there a statistically optimal number of ducks required to confuse a goose? Okay. The experiment is you vary duck group sizes interacting with a lone goose in a neutral enclosure, and then you measure the behavior patterns of the goose. Okay. And the insight is bird social dynamics with a dash of absurdity.
A dash of absurdity.
Yeah.
By the way, what is it with ChatGPT and ducks?
I have no idea, man. I did cherry pick these a little bit, but 10% of the research proposals ChatGPT put forward had to do with ducks. Okay? I have no idea.
Maybe there's something there. Maybe we're learning something about ChatGPT.
Yeah, maybe. Very interested in ducks scientifically. Okay. So I guess it's asking... It's hard to know what it's asking exactly.
Right.
In this
I was going to say that.
Yeah. What does confusion in a goose really mean?
Yeah.
And how do you measure it? Yeah.
Right.
Significance. Is there a statistically optimal number of ducks that can confuse a goose? Yeah. Interesting. I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 5 in significance. What about innovation?
Yeah. I mean, innovation, I think it's like somewhere in the middle. I think this type of experiment, putting one animal with other animals and seeing how they behave, that itself is not new.
No, but the question is, how many ducks? What's the optimal number of ducks?
That's pretty innovative. Okay, if we're going strictly by the question, then it's innovative.
And it's asking. It's not saying it's not saying more ducks, more confusion for the goose.
It could be like low.
There's an optimal number. Right?
Yeah.
It's not too low or too high. There's a perfect number.
Fair enough.
That confuses the goose the most. That's very innovative. Yeah, it's very innovative thinking. Yeah, very creative.
You convinced me. 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then the research design.
I think it's muddled. I'm not really sure what they're trying to measure here.
They're trying to measure goose confusion.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Right.
Or how to measure it. Yeah.
How to measure it. Right.
Yeah.
So I'll give them 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5. That sounds fair. Yeah. 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next research proposal from ChatGPT. Can ducks be used to detect earthquakes? Okay. The experiment is you set up seismic accelerometers near duck ponds, and they compare the pre-quake behavior of the ducks versus normal times.
Okay.
And the insight is ducks as feathery seismographs? Maybe. Thoughts?
Initial thoughts are, my understanding was most birds will fly away before, like an hour before an earthquake strikes or whatever.
Is that right?
So I don't know. Yeah, it's something like that. A lot of other animals can sense this too. It's not just, I think they can sense changes in the magnetic field. Is my, or something similar to that, okay? Now, maybe ducks are better. I'm not sure why ducks specifically, other than maybe ChatGPT has a fetish for ducks that we're learning about.
Well, let's not judge, okay?
Oh, that's true. That's
the mantra of our podcast.
That was the motto.
No judging.
Yes, that's the motto of this podcast. My bad. Transgressed.
We don't judge humans. We don't judge AI.
Yes. So significance. It's a significant question.
Yeah, earthquakes. You want to be able to detect earthquakes. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, especially here in California.
5 out of 5.
Especially here in California.
Okay. Innovation.
Innovation is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're saying people have done this before.
I think, people have definitely observed that birds and animals, they have strange behaviors right before an earthquake strikes.
Okay. And that it can be used to predict earthquakes, potentially?
Potentially, because they flee or they fly away or whatever.
Okay. Let's say 2 or 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
And then the research design.
Research design is fairly on the higher end. I wouldn't say 5 out of 5.
Okay.
But 4, I mean, the obvious confounder here is maybe the ducks are not in the pond when the earthquake hits. They're maybe already flying around anyway. They would have to collect probably a lot of these, which I guess in California it's fine because we have a lot of small earthquakes all the time. So I like a 4 out of 5.
Okay, I disagree with you there.
Okay.
I'm going to give them a 1 out of 5 for research design.
Wow.
Because this sounds like a correlational study, right? They're trying to correlate seismic activity with duck behavior.
Yeah.
Which is good and all, and maybe they do correlate. But you can't tell if the ducks are responding to the tremors and the earthquakes or whether they're causing it. And yeah.
Well, you're right. I did not think of this possibility.
Will not distinguish between the two possibilities.
Hey, do you have a hypothesis how they could do this? How could they cause tremors?
How ducks could cause earthquakes?
Does they pitter patter, or what?
Butterfly effect, man.
Butterfly effect.
Butterfly effect. Yeah.
Well, duck effect, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I see. Okay, fair.
All right. Here's a final research proposal from ChatGPT.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. These are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are. And serious. These are serious scientific questions.
With a dash of absurdity.
How many rubber ducks does it take to induce mild existential crisis in adult humans? Okay.
Okay. Wow.
The experiment slowly increase the number of rubber ducks placed in the participants' environment daily.
Oh my God.
And then interview them weekly on looking for signs for existential crises.
Oh my God.
Okay.
So are they being told this is happening?
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely not. Are you kidding? Have you learned nothing from reading psychology studies?
Yeah.
No, you don't tell them what's going on. That would influence their response. Okay.
So someone's waking up every morning and there's more ducks in their house every day.
Yes.
Oh
Exactly.
My God.
Exactly. Rubber ducks.
Okay, rubber ducks, yes.
The insight is this is a quirky way to explore environmental influence on stress and perception of the absurd.
Okay. Quirky is an interesting way to define it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So significance, I'd say, I'd say 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Okay.
This gets at something deep within our psyche, I think.
Okay.
Innovation, I'd say fairly innovative. 4 out of 5 as well.
That I agree with, yes.
No, I don't think there's been any studies like this.
No.
But experimental design, the experimental idea is okay.
Yeah.
But problem is, how do you get IRB approval? Right? IRB, Institutional Review Board, all research institutions have them, right? They review.
You have to sign off on all the study protocols.
All the studies that involve humans.
Yeah.
Right? How would you convince them to approve this?
Maybe you start dropping rubber ducks in there. You find out who's on the committee. And then you start dropping rubber ducks in their house.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to do it without IRB approval. It would be like a Jim Helper prank on Dwight.
Yeah.
From The Office.
Yes.
Yeah. which hey,
we don't know. He didn't notice that Jim's racial profile completely changed, and he was almost convinced.
Huh? What?
When Asian Jim replaced Jim.
Yes. I think this is getting at basically the same question as the Asian Jim prank from The Office. Yeah. Exactly. Or this is very similar to the other prank where Jim would move Dwight's desk an inch every time he got up to use the restroom.
Yes.
And then by the end of the day, he was like next to the copier.
Yeah, he's like, "What's going on?"
Yeah. Or my favorite prank, which is Jim put nickels into Dwight's phone headset.
Yeah.
Like every day he put more and more nickels. Yeah. So he got until he got used to the weight, the heavier weight. And then he took all the nickels out. And then Dwight just hit his head with the headphone. This is basically that. Okay, experimental design have to get IRB approval. If they can't somehow convince an IRB to approve this,
then it's great. Yeah.
Then 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Good proposal.
Okay, very good.